What is going on? Christine here. Thank you for checking out this video. Today is day 58 of the 77-day video challenge. You guys, I live in Austin, Texas, and we finally have fall weather. So, of course, I have to get my fall candle out. Put it right here. Finally get to wear sweatshirts. Oh, I love it. Hope you're having a great day. Today I'm doing part 3 of my story. If you want to catch the other ones, part 1 and part 2, feel free to check those out. Basically, in the first 2, I went over really the foundation, my childhood, and then in part 2, I moved into more of the high school years. So just kind of a quick recap. I was blessed with an amazing childhood from when I was born up to age 13. Awesome. I was in a private school. I was an athlete. My faith was strong. I was a gymnast, ballet dancer, and track and field, and so I had structure, I had discipline, and that gave me an amazing foundation for my life. Then when I turned 13, everything changed. So my dad and the company he was working for, they ended up moving to Houston, so he had to commute. So he was basically gone all the time. I rarely saw him, and then my mom, when I was age 13, she decided to go back to school and get her master's, and so that basically left me home alone, and I really didn't have any structure. I was homeschooled for 8th grade, and then also because the private school that I was in, it shut down right before 8th grade started. So the gym where I was training when I was a gymnast was right next door. So my mom ended up plucking me out of the environment that I was thriving in. I was well on my way to a trajectory of going to college, getting a scholarship, all of that. So she plucked me out of that environment and put me into a new environment, and it wasn't the same. They didn't have the same program that I was used to. The coaches they weren't like my other coaches who just poured into me, who saw my potential, and they were just drawing that out. And so because of that, because of the lack of guidance and direction, I lost my passion, I lost my drive, and then I started high school. And I was extremely naive because I, had gone to small private schools growing up, and my parents never had those deep conversations about topics that you should talk to your kids about. And so I really just walked in completely blind to what the real world was like. And and then also at that time, my dad was gone. My mom, she really had a hard time disciplining me. I stopped going to church, and I was no longer involved in the youth group. And so, I feel bad. I feel really bad. I was not a pleasant person or I was not a good daughter in my teen years at all. And I have apologized to my mom many times because of that. Walked away from my faith. Boys started to pay attention to me. My dad was gone, so I wasn't getting any attention from my dad. Also, my parents never, ever, do I remember at all, them saying the words, "I love you," up to this day. Now, when I was younger, before my teenage years, I never thought anything about it because I felt loved, because they took good care of me, and you know, they were at my gymnastics meets, track meets, so I felt loved. But you know, now looking back, it's like, wow, I really never had like a lot of emotions. They basically were kind of emotionally absent, and that's just how they grew up. And so I lacked that growing up. And so boys paid a lot of attention to me because I was the new girl, and you know, starting to blossom and become a woman. And because the boys paid attention to me, they gave me that attention that I was craving, that I really needed and wanted in my life. And so I ended up getting hurt many, many times because I was naive and because I didn't understand how teenage boys thought at the time. And so I would, you know, give them my heart and fall in love, and then they would disappear. So that was hard. And then, you know, I joined the varsity drill team because I had the talent of dancing and all of that. And it basically, in a nutshell, at the end of the day, I was just searching. I was searching for where I fit in and where I belonged. That's in high school. It was all about just, I never felt like I fit in, and I never really truly felt accepted. And it was always that void in my heart during high school. So then senior year was my first serious relationship. Unfortunately, I decided to, you know, I decided to be in a relationship with someone who did not have the same values, did not have any ambition in life. Basically just, you know, he sold drugs, he smoked weed all day, he was 3 years older than I was. He didn't go to college, he didn't have a job, you know, lived with his mom. And I was naive, thinking, oh, I can change him, I can help him, I can lead him to the Lord. And yeah, so I learned a very hard lesson in that, you know, we cannot change anyone except ourselves. So, you know, pretty much after end of high school and after high school, for about 2 or 3 years, I was just really in the party scene, you know, going to bars, going to clubs. I was also going to church every now and then, so I had one foot in church and one foot in the world. So definitely was wishy-washy. I was, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember now. Gosh, I hate that. Words disappear when I go on video. Oh, I was a lukewarm Christian. And that's a stretch even to say lukewarm. Okay, so, sorry, I have notes here. So as far as addiction, if you had told me, or if you had asked me, do you know anything about addiction? You know, when I was a kid, when I was in high school, I was clueless. I really was. There's no history of it in my family. And so I would have probably said, you know, it's probably, you know, the homeless people, someone on the street who struggles with addiction. I never in a million years thought addiction would be a part of my life. Ever. Ever. I never did hard drugs because I was just always afraid, you know, because I grew up in that era where that one commercial where there was a, you know, fried egg in the saucepan, and it's like, this is your brain on drugs. So I never was around it much, and I definitely just like was not tempted to try it. But no one ever told me about the dangers of prescription pills. So in 1998, I finally woke up one day and decided I am done with this relationship and I'm better than this. I'm going to get my life together. And one of my best friends was living in Austin going to UT, and she's like, hey, why don't you come move down here? So I decided this was my fresh start. And so I packed up everything in my U-Haul and drove down to Austin from Dallas. And I would say probably that first year, I pretty much brought my baggage with me, like as far as my lifestyle, the choices I was making, just wasn't really ready to let it go. But then I got accepted into UT. I majored in theater and dance, wanted to become a professional dancer. So the dream was to eventually possibly move to New York and be a starving dancer. That was kind of my goal. I wasn't really sure if that would happen, but that I was in school and I finally got myself together. And yeah, then that's when I met my husband in 2000. So he is 12 years older than I am, and so he was already established. He had his own business, and we met in March of 2000, and then we ended up getting married in March of 2001. So we literally, it was 1 year from the date we met to the day we got married. And I mean, he'll agree with this. If I can give any kind of marriage advice in this Facebook Live, it's definitely way longer than a year. And I say that because it was just that first year, it was really like the honeymoon phase. And you really want to wait and go through different seasons of your life with someone. You want to see how someone is during good times and the hard times. So that is my marriage advice right now. So we got married, it was fast, and my husband had a furniture store at the time. And shortly after we got married, or actually, wait, yeah, it was right after we got married, he was at work one day and he was lifting heavy furniture, and he injured his elbow, like it popped or something. It made this weird noise, and he had a lot of pain. So he went to the doctor. They did an x-ray, they checked him out. Luckily it was just like maybe a sprain or something like that, and they sent him home with a prescription for tramadol. A prescription for tramadol, which is a very mild pain killer. It's a prescription pain. It is in the opioid family, and typically tramadol is very common for like giving to dogs. Like when dogs have surgery, they'll give them tramadol. So he got that. He got the prescription, and my husband doesn't take medication that much, and so he's like, I'll be fine. But he did get the prescription filled for, just in case, like in the future something happens, right? And so one day in 2001, one day I was in the bathroom getting ready for work, and I saw the bottle of pills sitting on the counter, just right there in front of me. I was doing my makeup, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the tramadol that he got from his injury. And I didn't really think anything of it until a few minutes later. All of a sudden, mine started thinking, I wonder what it would be like. I wonder what it feels like. Because at this time, I had heard of people taking pain medication, anxiety medication, having a few drinks with it, and, just feeling good, taking the edge off, right? And so I was like, I'm going to try one. I mean, I knew it was a mild pain medication, and so I tried it, and I absolutely loved the way it made me feel. So I'll say this, it gave me energy. I literally could have cleaned the whole house in that one afternoon. It gave me energy. It gave me a sense of euphoria, just like, whew, I feel good. It's kind of like, you know, when you have a glass of wine and you get a little tipsy and you're like, you know, feel good. It was that type of feeling. But now, looking back, and after I've been through so much recovery, so much therapy, so much diving deep, going in and really figuring out the root issue, I'll tell you what it really did for me. It gave me confidence. Because I said this in the first 2 videos. When I grew up, I was very shy, very quiet. My teachers, I remember them asking my mom, like, is Christine quiet at home like she is in the classroom? And my mom's like, oh no, she's quite different. But I was very, very naive. I just, you know, especially in high school, my self-esteem, my confidence took a huge step, huge, giant leap backwards. And because I didn't have, you know, the structure, the discipline, my coaches pouring into me, I didn't have any of that. And I lacked direction, and I was just always looking to belong, and I never felt like I did. And so, really what that medication did for me was it gave me my confidence back. I felt amazing. I felt like, wow, I finally found the solution to my problems. Like, I can finally be me. I can finally be confident. I can finally just like, it was just like, I don't even have the words to describe it, but like, I just remember I was like, finally, I can be me. So, over the next, gosh, let's see, that was 2001. So the next 3 years, I took Ultram just every now and then. It was typically, I would take it on the weekends when I had a date night with my husband, and I would have a glass of wine or a margarita and mix it with a pain pill. And that was it. Like, that's all it was. I was not addicted, but I was definitely playing with fire. But yeah, that's how it was for the next 3 years. And a lot of people are like, well, how did you get it if you took it for 3 years every now and then? And that is a whole nother video in itself. But I will just say this, I was able to get it from illegal online pharmacies. That's how I was able to get it. It was really, really easy to get. Got it from Mexico, India, you know, somewhere overseas. And so I'm going to stop here because now in 2004 is where I was in the season of my life where I started to take the pills every day. And that is where I became a full-blown drug addict. Full-blown. And so I'm going to go into that in my next video, in part 4. And you guys, there's some crazy, crazy stories in that season of my life. And I looked like I look now. I looked normal. I was still working. I was still married. I was able to function, but I had this deep, deep, dark secret that kept me stuck for 15 years. And so I will dive into that in the next video. And if you know of anyone who struggles with addiction or has struggled with addiction, might have a family member or a friend that struggles with addiction, please, please feel free to share this video with them, because the intention of all of this is not just to just talk and tell you about me, but it is to share my story so that it might help just at least one person. And I definitely need your help. So if you like and comment and share this video, then Facebook and the algorithm will push it out to more people. So even if maybe you don't or haven't struggled with addiction, definitely, would love it if you just at least like and maybe comment, and then feel free to share it out if you feel led to. I would appreciate it very much. So that's it for today. Thank you again for checking this out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm a peer support specialist now, recovery coach, so I have a lot of resources, a lot of things I can help you with. And so, yeah, that's it for today. God bless you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.